Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the LEGO Legend of Zelda Custom Set Showcase Wave 3. And it's been a while. We did 4 weeks of Advent Calendar, goodness, which was a lot of fun, but it's nice to be back to the regular showcase, where today we are taking a look at Z0047 with 563 pieces. It's finally time for the proper dungeon expansion of Wave 3, and it's a bit of a creative one. It is the Buddha Shrine Maker, which is based off the shrines from Breath of the Wild. I really don't know how else to describe it. Either way, if you don't know about what we talk about when we talk about the dungeon builder mechanic that I included in my LEGO Legend of Zelda custom set showcase, ever since the first custom set, we have been designing elements of the dungeons from various Zelda games. And what's more important than the dungeons are the puzzles, and because the shrines are so modular in their nature and have been constructed in so many unique different ways, I thought the perfect way to represent them inside our LEGO system would be to make it in a way that you could make your own dungeon out of elements from them. So we've included a lot of different elements for you to work with, as well as a couple of really cool figures that you can use. And this is obviously all collectible with the normal dungeon mechanic builder system, the modular system, which I highly recommend you go and check out the other videos on, the best of which being linked at the top throughout this one. And this is for an ages 8+ set with £60 worth of stuff, and including 3 brick characters. A little small description for us today before we open up our box. Recreate all 120 shrines in any combination with the latest expansion to the LEGO Zelda Dungeon Builder system. Solve puzzles, blow up the breakable blocks, ride the elevator, or fight guardians to reach the monk's gift. And that pretty much sums it up, and I'm going to show off a load of combinations of different ways you could rearrange these elements to add to your custom dungeon in the end of this video. If we open up our box, you will see that we have 6 numbered bags and a small, thin instruction manual. And inside that instruction manual, we will see that bag 1 builds the entrance to the shrine, as well as the fighting platform, as well as the guardian scouts. Bag 2 builds the flying platforms of all 3 types, some stairs, and a big ball. Bag number 3 builds a lot more pillars. It's a very repetitive bag. Bag 4 gives us all of our base elements, a very small bag. Bag 5 builds the bottom half of the end of the shrine, and Bag 6 finishes it off, and that allows us to rearrange it in any combination with our start and end piece. Obviously, the real starting point is the start and end piece. Let's take a look at that elevator. So you can see here we've replicated some of the authentic details from the shrines by using the new banana recolor in tan made for the minions line, a clip attached to bar connectors. We have a sticker element on a slope to represent the Sheikah Eye above the lift. And for those of you who don't know, this is sort of the contraption where you enter the shrine. You can see the transparent tube which Link goes down in the elevator up above. However, that serves a dual purpose in this set, and I think it's personally very creative. However, if we take a look around the back, you can see that there are 2 ladder pieces which can climb up to the top, and this is supposed to represent sort of about 2 different ways you could enter the shrine. So, this first way is if you climb up the ladders all the way to the top, you could jump on elevated items of your shrine builder layout, and this means there's more variation in how you can start your shrine. You can either start up high or down low, and it doesn't affect your play experience or how connected your dungeon is, because that was one thing about all the modular dungeons, is that they all started at, I think it was about 3 blocks high. However, here we have different options, so you could always jump off the top onto a flying platform, or you could go inside the turning elevator and arrive from behind. So this is a swivel feature where Link turns around, and it just makes it look as if he's actually walking into the shrine, even though that's not quite possible. So let me play that for you again. We can turn him back round to the back, and then when we want him to enter the shrine, we just turn it around again, and just like that, he's ready to go off on his adventure into your shrine. And then when you end your shrine, we obviously arrive at the monk's enclosure, as I like to call it. And you can see here I've replicated the shape, well, I think pretty accurately. We're using that new slope piece that was introduced for the police station in 2021 down at the bottom to recreate the curves. You've got the steps up to where you receive the spirit ore, which of course would be included in this set. Some more banana decals, another Sheikah sticker element on a 2x6 brick, and lots of slope elements to create the sort of pattern. We're using the big transparent panel pieces to make it look, and once again, this one actually does hide a feature. So if you take a look up, the entrance to where the monk would sit does look a bit suspicious, and in fact this is a play feature where if you pull this little lever around the back, you will see that it slides out, moving the monk backwards, also dropping down these panels to give access to the monk, and obviously for Link to receive his spirit ore, which would be in the monk's hand. where the monkey's sat in here, holding 2 rings of power and also his spirit orb, and he can give that to you. Okay, so it's a bit difficult for me to show you all the other features. It will become much more clear at the end of the video, but let me walk you through all the individual elements. So here we have the representation of 2 explosive barrels from Breath of the Wild, and these have a couple of features attached. We also have these 4 brown panels, which allow us to connect different sections of our dungeon together, as well as some bigger panels, and this is more so for attaching a lot of the smaller bits together, like the explosive barrels or the like torches and flames and stuff. So it's more just for keeping all the small elements combined. We've also got these 6 different pillars which all stack and have jumpers on the top, which obviously can either hold this chest element where you could store any number of Breath of the Wild weapons, the spirit orb, arrows, anything you like, anything from any of the Breath of the Wild sets, any reward you deem worthy can go in this chest, and that just sort of ties more into that element of you create your dungeon because you decide what the reward is. We could also take our bomb barrels and put them next to our bombable like wall segments or our like stacking things here, and we can easily pretend like we blow them up. The design behind these structures is that they're easily stackable but also easily knockable to create lots of fun, because there was so many bombable walls and puzzles in the Breath of the Wild shrines I can think back to. We also have this staircase element, which is another piece that allows us to elevate our shrine level, or actually de-elevate the shrine level if you've started from the top. And obviously we could always do the classic toddler thing where we stack up all 6 of the buildable wall segments, which Link will then have to knock over, and there could be a chest at the top or something. Or you could use your combinations like this, where you go up the stairs, you jump from one piece to the other piece to reach the chest. See, it's all designed to be rearrangeable. Or you could even attach one of these platforms to the top, and then like set this up as like a raised area, or something you have to knock down. The possibilities are really endless. We also have these 4 balloons, and once again, these can be used in different ways. They're a very simple like concept, but they're designed to represent the balloons that fly around in some of the shrines. I think back to that one where you have to use the Korok leaf to like blow a platform through some spikes. That was a particularly challenging one. Did not enjoy that shrine. But you could also use them in the hole provided inside the bomb barrels to make the bomb barrels fly, which I thought was an interesting touch. And these can either float on a transparent rod, or you can just sort of chuck them around. It's up to you. We also include these pieces here, which are some 6x6 platforms meant to represent like the moving Sheikah platforms that sort of like go across gaps. I think back to the bomb shrine where you have to put one on a platform. However, we've also included these cone pieces as well as some assemblies on a transparent rod to actually hold them up in the air like so, and these will actually float here. Again, could be knocked over, but I'd see you using the bombable walls if you wanted to make them knock over. And here is that example of showing you where the big tan plates come into use at the bottom. They're really useful for just holding things together, and obviously these guys originated in the Mario line, but there are definitely some uses for them outside of it. And you can see here that you rise up the steps and then you can jump across the 2 platforms. We've also included a small build for a blue flame. We have a raft build, which is just a lot of palisade bricks on their side, and as mentioned, this can obviously be used as a raft. I'm thinking from the Shrine Hillorai drifting. However, there are also some stud connections where we could put balloons to recreate the flying platform from the previously mentioned shrine with spikes. And here you can see that those snot bricks are actually double-sided, meaning you can attach transparent rods to show that it's actually flying and just increase your play. We also have another platform. Now, this is more so supposed to represent the platform in the minor test of strength shrines, which the Guardian rises up on. However, once again, can represent either a flying platform or a floating platform if you remove the balloons or keep the balloons. And there are just, again, multiple uses. We also have this element which is sort of a artistic interpretation of like the holes in which you put balls in. I'm thinking to the Dueling Peak Twin Shrines where you put the balls in the holes, except we've done it on a bigger scale here, so it can represent the big ball from the Trial of Power Shrine, which, you know, like chases you and stuff. And you can either rest this ball in the cup where it will sit nicely, or you can use it on this turnstile, which is once again on a Mario plate, to weigh down the ball. So you can have your like pillar in this position and then place the ball on it and weigh the side down, which I think is a nice cool play feature. This could like launch something, or it could be like like a puzzle jingle which lifts up the treasure chest or something, because you could weigh other stuff on here. So here you can see the trial platform on here, which obviously would be then allowing you to weigh it up, where you could push your finger down on the other side and then the Guardian would rise up out the ground. Or in fact, you could drop the ball on this side to send the Guardian flying. Here you see him there, and if you weighed it down, he would go launching, almost representing you defeating him. Taking a closer look at that Guardian, you can see he's a Guardian Scout model 4 or 3, where he's using a design actually I found online. He's using the spiderweb piece as well as some Exoforce arms at the bottom. He's using a modified brick with 4 studs on each side, which allow us to attach many different limbs, including this transparent shield piece in blue, this short sword, which appeared in the Nexonite line, commonly with clay, and then the big frost piece, which I associate with Mixels, although I believe it appeared in Ninjago first. He's also using a dome piece around the top and has a nice rounded head to give him that Guardian Scout look. I really like the build for this guy. There are also 4 transparent rods included, and I know it's really hard to see them on the screen, but it's important to mention because obviously they just add to that modularity of how you can connect things. There are also 2 blue flame torches builds sort of included, and the reason I included 2 is so that you could almost do some blue flame puzzles. You could start with one lit and then have the flame out of the other one, and then you have to transfer it from one end of the dungeon to the other, and that could easily be your goal, sort of representing the actual blue flame shrine, which I know is a lot of people's favourites. And here we're onto our combination shot, so let me walk you through what's happening here. So we enter the shrine on the ground level this time, and we're faced with 2 bombable barrels, which we can use to blow up the wall, which drops the Guardian Scout on top of us, which we then have to fight with our Link minifigure. We then climb up the stairs, jump onto the platform, which contains a treasure chest, which would contain a Korok leaf, which allows us to jump across to the raft, blow it across the gap, and then jump up onto the elevated shrine. We then also have this smaller one, which is basically just a interpretation of the major test of strength, where we have the platform here when you come out. So you enter the shrine on the ground level, fight the Guardian, get a reward, and go and see the monk. We have this interpretation, which seems a bit more complicated, but this is actually sort of based off Blue Flame, I guess, but also not really. Either way, we have 3 flames in 3 different positions. You have to kill the Guardian Scout, you have to get up to the top of the staircase to light the flame. You also then have to bomb up the little raised flame on the pillar using the bombable objects. You've got the 3rd one by the end, but then you've also got this raft which you need to move over to the end, blow up the little hidden canopy thing over here to get the treasure chest, which would contain either the secret or the torch, allowing you to actually light the flames. I know it's confusing here because all the flames are already lit, but this is a version of the blue flame puzzle. I just thought it was a wackier shrine thing, and actually I think I also took some inspiration from one of the Korok Forest trials here. If you know what I'm talking about, leave a comment. And then we have this one here, which is very high up. So here you can see that we're starting on the top of the shrine, meaning you climb up the ladders, jump across onto the staircase, which is raised up. You then, from the top of the staircase, have to shoot down the explosive barrel, launch across, jump across the 2 platforms, and then throw it at the boulder to sort of blow it up so that you can pass on to the end of the shrine. And once again, just like the real shrines in Breath of the Wild, you can almost tackle the challenges in every way. They just add a nice scale of elevation and a bit of Breath of the Wild feel to the shrines. And then there's this one, which is one of my favourites, I think. So again, you start at the ground level of the shrine, immediately climb the staircase onto the floating platform, which you then ride across using your Korok leaf to the end, where you need to weigh down the tilting tables. So you push something onto there, which then sends the explosive barrels, and then the wall explodes, allowing you to progress to the shrine, because obviously the wall is clearly blocking you, so it needs to be blown up. And then moving on to our figures for the day after a very chaotic build, we have the Ancient Armor Link. And this is really an excuse to get the Ancient Armor into Breath of the Wild. And actually, this Link will come with an alternative hairpiece, meaning that the Ancient Helm could actually be the hidden treasure inside the tress that we talked about earlier. So it doesn't have to be arrows or a Korok leaf, a torch or a spirit orb. It could be the Ancient Helm as well, which I know doesn't appear in shrines, but I thought it fitted the aesthetic best here and looks the least weird. He has some dual molded legs in dark bluish grey at the bottom with black at the top and a lot of fancy lines. He's got the ancient curious texture all across his torso, as well as some dual molded arms, and of course that especially molded headpiece along his normal head piece. And as I mentioned, of course, he is going to come with his own hair piece that obviously doesn't fit with this, but it's a nice inclusion all the same. Moving on, we have the monk figure, who is alive, I guess, and these are of course based off the Sheikah monks from For the Wild. is using a same technique as used in the Ninjago City Docks to get that hat piece on his back using a neck bracket and a stud, which allows it to look exactly like the reference imagery. This monkey's bold because obviously we have a mold budget and I don't believe Lego would make a custom molded headpiece. He has his Sheikah eye on his forehead and some very dead eyes. We're using once again the negative space around his hips to make him look more like a skeleton, and he's got some dual molded long legs which have like his short printing on them, as well as the golden bangles, very similar to Maz Kosher, but also very different. And he's holding 2 of the One Ring pieces from Lord of the Rings, so that he can look like these reference imagery where he has all the bangles, and some of them are like holding rings and stuff. So there you go. And then finally we have the Guardian Scout, which I've denominated as 5. However, Guardian Scout 5 is the one with 3 weapons and no shield, so this is definitely Guardian Scout 4. We've already talked about his build here, but here he is in normal form with his reference imagery, with a spear, a short sword, and a shield. That is the variation I chose. And while this one has 4 legs instead of the 3, this could easily be modified. It's more of a stability thing needed for playability. And one last thing I need to mention is, obviously I mentioned this connected with the normal dungeon system, and you're going, but Octane, all the other dungeon systems use Technic pins. This thing looks like a mess in comparison. Well, I've got you covered. We have these 2 sub-assemblies here which you build in bag 4. There are little steps which take you exactly up to the normal dungeon height and have Technic pins on their reverse. This means that they plug into any of the other rearrangeable dungeon rooms, allowing you to have your shrine section self-contained and then have the rest of your sprawling dungeon out around it. Speaking of sprawling dungeon, let's quickly take a look at how they connect. So here you can see that the plates will connect just behind the entrance to the shrine, and the Technic things will then go into the rest. And here you've got to be a bit more creative using one of your Mario plates, which allow us to connect them here, and it works out really nicely. That's actually going to do it for the Build a Shrine Dungeon Builder for 563 pieces. You can see the long $70 box format here, although it's a bit overpriced, this one, but you can sort of see why. It's more one of those creative sets. I guess it is similar to the Mario Adventures with Mario Starter Course, but at the same time not really. I sort of like where it's going for. Again, with a lot of these custom sets, my building expertise isn't exactly the best, so I like to see it as more of a concept of what they could do to expand this dungeon builder concept. From the moment I built the Fire Sanctuary, I always knew I was going to need a build your own dungeon style thing, and I think the shrines are the perfect fit in the Zelda universe for this Lego concept. And I hope you can see where I'm coming from if I've been a bit confusing or done a bit of rambling. I know I've done both today. To finish it off for the day, I thought we'd take a look at all of our dungeon customs so far. So while it's a bit hard to see, I hope you can see where the shrine fits in, as well as how the stair elements interact with the Dead Hand room and the Bongo Bongo room from our Shadow Temple custom. We've also mixed in some of our Fire Sanctuary rooms, and I suppose I should mention that I do know what happens in a Zelda dungeon. They are just all mixed up here, because that's the modularity of the dungeon system, is you can rearrange the rooms, which explains why we have the entrance to the Fire Sanctuary before we jump straight to the Fire Temple, which jumps straight to the Shadow Temple, which jumps straight to the Fire Temple, which jumps straight to Goma and goes all over the place. But just like last time, I also included the Tower of the Gods, which is not entirely a dungeon builder concept because it can't be rearranged, but I thought it was a nice inclusion because it's the only other dungeon that we've done, and it sits here right by the end of the train track element. And either way, I think it is inserted really nicely here. But now it's time to move on, and I cannot believe that we're into our final 2 sets for Wave 3. And I suppose now's a good time to mention that we won't be jumping straight into Wave 4 when this is finished. There's a lot of fan suggestions which I've had over the last 6 months that I want to tackle, as well as a couple of special LEGO Zelda projects that you'll be seeing here soon, but I'm sure we'll be jumping into Wave 4 at some point in the middle of 2022, depending on how busy I am. But enough rambling for now. We're on to Z0039, which is should be fairly obvious. I'm expecting some fairly accurate guesses down below in the comments. It's really nice expansion. Again, it's one of my long-running themes in the Hyrule system. I nearly spoilt it there. Anyway, consider subscribing. Let me know what you thought of this concept. I'm really curious to see what you guys thought down below. And I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.